Hey, it's news from heaven. Your love, not your intelligence, makes you who you are. I'm impressed with you for clicking on this one, actually, because it's not really a clickbait title. It sounds a little bit boring, but it's not. And it's very useful. And it's counterintuitive and it's surprising. Because if you get that, you don't really throw those terms around a lot, like, is it my love or my intelligence that makes me who I am? But when we look at how we actually think about ourselves and think about how we qualify people and how we compare people to one another in that ever-useful game of hierarchical categorization, then you start to see, oh, we do believe certain things about this. And it's really an investment strategy, a spiritual investment strategy, because you're going to see what really sticks, and so what am I really working on? And it's never not useful to know who you are or what makes you who you are. And this is all because when we're navigating the web of the mind, let's say you're going throughout the day and you've got these counter you thoughts and counterproductive thoughts. I'd say counter you because there can be all kinds of direct attack on things within you. You're a worthless person. I just give these ultra generic examples, but you know what yours are. Whatever your particular fears are or concerns or whatever you hope isn't true, but that you continue to get these signals like this is true, this thing is true. There's that. And then there's also the other stuff which is pitting you against other people or it's impulses to do things that are destructive. Whatever it is, there's all the aggregate of negativity. The aggregate of negativity. And then there's what is good. And that you can feel it and just, hey, I'm in a good mood. And particularly I am hopeful. This is a time in which a lot of people are struggling with hope. You know, let's say we're in the middle of this pandemic right now, and I certainly find myself fluctuating between everything is claustrophobic and scary, and then like, oh, we're going to get through this, and life is big and long, and there's eternity, and everything's good. So how do we navigate these things? And tied up in all of this is our sense of who we are. Because the negative stuff latches onto the sense of who you are. The positive stuff tries to educate the sense of who you are. What is it all? What are we? Because who we are plays a role in how we interpret all the stuff that has to do with us, and that brings us to our quote for the day. This is from Divine Love and Wisdom. You can download this for free. You can follow along for free, but you'll never figure it out on your own as well as we figure it out here. Don't test that, though, because then what's the point of me? If you can go and find better stuff in this than I can, come on. I'm not going to have anything to do with myself. All right, so goodbye, little chair. The quality of love determines the quality of the wisdom and therefore the quality of the person. Huh? This is because the quality of love and wisdom determines the quality of volition and discernment. Love and wisdom being the forces themselves, volition and discernment being the vessels within us. Oh wait, I think he's about to say that. Volition being the vessel of love, darn, and discernment the vessel of wisdom. This guy Swedenborg, constantly trying to show me up at my own show, as already explained. And these two constitute us as human and give us our quality. Now this question mark, how could a guy like me be so confused already? Well, this is why. Because you're saying the quality of love determines the quality of wisdom. And being that love is what's in our volition or our will, and then discernment, what's in our intelligence, it is not what we love that determines how smart we are. Who goes around and says that? No, these two are pretty separate. There's what you love, what your motivations are, what really moves you, what you care about. This is what your feelings. Get out of your feelings right now, right? So you're in your feelings on this side, but then there's your mind. How am I going to draw a mind? The mind is like a box of stuff. Then there's the mind. And these two, sure, they interact with each other. They're sending signals across, but surely they don't develop in tandem. If you're going out, the quality of what you love does not determine the quality of wisdom. Wisdom is determined by, well, you go out and how well do you interact with books? How good are you at learning? What conferences do you go to? What's your IQ like? And IQ is not necessarily tied to, it's not like the most loving people or the smartest people. You can go on and develop this completely independent of this. How are you going to say The quality of love determines the quality of the wisdom. This is the mystery. This is the secret. This is the stuff that you could never pick apart, probably. You could never probably pick this out just by sifting through your consciousness, flying blind in your consciousness and saying, yeah, what's driving what here? But Swedenborg is saying if you can get down and see the mechanics of it on the spiritual level, the love actually determines the kind of mind we have, and not the other way around, and not in separation. And we're going to get into some detail of what exactly does that mean. Love, how's that for a teaser? We're going to get into some detail. Love is highly complex. So complex that its various forms are without limit. Love, you do think of love as being a complex thing. You might think of the brain or even the heart as being complex things. But love, no, it's like I love you. I love this chocolate Easter bunny. That's just a feel. It's a single feeling. Maybe there's a few feelings in there, but you don't think of it as something like a supercomputer that has all these trillions of tiny little parts in it. But Swedenborg is saying that love is not just how if you were to plop some love on the table here, what is it? What's it like? Swedenborg is asserting that it's not just, you'd think of it as, if we have to represent it here, would it be like some kind of glowy air? What is it? It's actually something very complex that has a form to it. So I'm drawing this heart here to try to represent love. But there actually, within love itself, has all kinds of facets and pieces and bits and bytes and parts in it. And it has all kinds of structure and meaning. And this is not ending up looking that lovely, is it? This, somehow, the form of love is infinitely complex. This we can tell from the human race on earth and in the heavens, okay? There is not a single individual or angel so like another that there is no difference. Love is what makes the difference. Each individual being her or his own love. Two things here. I mean, well, what makes you different? Am I different from anybody else? Why do I exist? Am I really taking up some kind of space that no one else could occupy? Would the world be all the same if I wasn't here? Your particular love means that you are inescapably unique. That there is just, you are you, and you could never reduce you down to something where you couldn't pick you out of a lineup. You are something that it will never be recreated. It doesn't matter how many people have existed or will exist. That's how many categories of complexity must love have if there have been billions and billions and billions of people, but none of them have been the same. Each individual being her or his own love. This is what we are. This love is what we are. And the love being the source of the mind, really, you don't change who you are, or you aren't defined by what's going on here, by what you understand. Now, not that there's not interplay here, not that these two can't communicate in a way that you're affecting what you love, but we're going to see here that really this all can be shaken out. And this is who we are. I mean, that heart is just really looking like it's got some issues. I'll smooth it out a little bit here. But I'm trying to say it's complex. I'm not trying to say it's got a bunch of heart bumps on it. The heart brings you back. People think that wisdom is what differentiates. But wisdom comes from love. It is love's form, for love is the underlying reality of life, and wisdom is the manifestation of life from this underlying reality. So people think that, what kind of people are different because of different kinds of minds they have, the different kinds of understanding that they have. But actually, the kind of mind we have comes from the love that we have, which we got to get to this, but wait a second. These two don't really go together. So what are you talking about? You have to apply this across time, and it's about permanence and temporary states, "The world believes that intelligence is what makes us human." That was in Swedenborg's day. Do we still think that? What's the difference between a human being, let's say, and an animal? Because don't we talk about people? What makes people different? Well, we use tools. We build stuff. And I know there's some gray area because there's some crows that can use little tools, and chimpanzees and orangutans can use little tools. Sea otters can use little rocks to smash things. But in general, we try to say, well, the difference is what's uniquely human is the kind of intelligence we have. But wouldn't it be fascinating to think what really makes humanity human is the kind of motivation that you have. But people believe this because our discernment can be raised up into... Okay, let's see where he's going with this. But people believe this because our discernment can be raised up into heaven's light, as already explained, and it can seem as though we were wise. So there we're using the term human in a positive sense, like human versus that's inhuman. Oh, we don't really say that's so human to be good, but we do say we say you're that's inhuman if you've fallen out of acting in a human sort of way. And he's there saying, well, we think that we are human because of our intelligence, because in intelligence we can be raised up into heaven's light, which means, let's say that we're in a state of selfishness or something. You can get to a point where you can see intellectually, wait, this isn't fair for me to take all this stuff that other people need because they need it. So isn't that the human thing? But you can, if you're just getting up to do a thought experiment on that stuff, it isn't actually having anything to do with who you are. However, any discernment that goes too far, that is discernment that is not wisdom of love, appears as though it were ours. This makes us seem like intelligent people, but that is only an appearance. Swedenborg in his day was seeing quite a lot of people in religious leadership positions. And Swedenborg was in this amazing position where he could see what people were like externally, like what they were doing in the world, and then what they were like actually. Meaning all of us have this dynamic going on already. We are talking a certain way, we are acting a certain way, but we may be thinking a different way, and we may be feeling a different way from how we're acting. And that the inner self, the part that's, okay, I'm going to go and talk right now, but here's what I really want to accomplish, that scheming behind the scenes part, which can be scheming for good or for bad, that's the inner self to an extent. The outer self is the actions that the rest of the world can see. So to be able to see what's going on spiritually is to be able to see what's going on with intention and with thought rather than speech and actions. So Swedenborg could see that you could have in these churches, there's people who are getting up there and saying with a loud voice, love one another, do good to each other, teaching people this is the way that you should live. This is what will do good for the human race, and speaking passionately in favor of what is just and fair. But then, when we go back to your private world, you're just thinking about yourself and don't even really believe the things you're talking about here. And Swedenborg could see this in two ways. One, he could meet people after they died who he'd known in the world or knew what they were like in the world and then see what they were really like, or he can understand what their spirits were doing at the time. This is all to say, you can go around and even when you're in this state really be thinking like, oh, this is great. Yeah, I'm saying this stuff, but it's not really you if you're just doing it when the spotlight is on. This makes us seem like intelligent people, but that's only an appearance. The discernment that goes too far is actually a love for knowing and being wise, and not at the same time a love for applying our knowledge and wisdom to life. Why do I love learning all of these good principles, or in whatever field it is? I go learn medical principles. Is that because I want to use them to gain esteem and respect and wouldn't actually care how the life of any of my particular patients turns out? Or is it because I'm learning these principles because I want to put them into action to save people and reduce suffering and preserve the public good and public health that we're also aware of now? So there, you can have your mind fly off into things, but if it's not taking that stuff and saying, I'm going to live by it, then you have this discernment that is a love for knowing and being wise, but not at the same time for applying our knowledge and wisdom to life. And so how does that separate out? How do we get it to, so but still the two exist in you, you can still know all these things. Where is it that you actually see that it emerges as self-evident that the love is who we are? So in this world, if you have this love that's a love for the ideas and concepts, but not really a love for applying them to your life, in this world it either ebbs away over time or waits around temporarily on the edges outside the contents of memory. So you have it, but it's sort of outer, but you can access it. After death, then, it is separated from us. And nothing is left but what agrees with the real love of our spirit. And this is where we're getting to the difference, because we're all familiar with the idea that you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. If there's any sort of belief in a life after death, you know that, wait, is everything I draw just like stick people surrounded by houses? That's a rhetorical question. Don't answer that. We know we're here and we're in the middle of life, and we know we try to get things. We try to get houses. We try to get money. We try to get, how are you going to draw reputation? You try to get reputation. This is your reputation going out. You try to get relationships. You try to, there's all kinds of things we are trying to do. We are trying to accomplish things. And we all know you can't take it with you, as in the material goods that you have are not going to go with you. Right? You're not going to wake up in the afterlife and have this same 401k. This is an idea that's out there. What we're drilling into here is that you don't even take all of the stuff in your heart and mind with you. Swedenborg is adamant that we continue to be the same person, and that it is really the character stuff that we should be investing in, because that is what we take with us, but only in a certain sense is that true. Because if you load up your mind with a bunch of concepts but aren't working on the heart and using those concepts to apply them to life, in the end, what you love will completely set up what your character is. So if what you love, going back to this, the best drawing of all time, here's how this is starting to show that this is really who we are. Because when we get to life after death, if you learned a bunch of stuff here about goodness and how to be beneficial and whatever it is, but we only have love for ourselves, the heart will start to get rid of things. It will say, this does not agree with the life I want based on the pleasures that I'm seeking, so I'm pushing this out. And this thing over here, which we maybe kept our distance from because it wasn't socially acceptable, but it says, look, this is what does favor me here. I'm pulling this in, so that we end up with a mind that matches the contents of the heart. Does that make sense? It does to me. So in the end, anything that is not anchored in a life of love dissipates. Because love is what really makes us us. It's who we really are. Since love does constitute our life, and therefore ourselves, all the communities of heaven and all the angels of those communities are arranged according to the passions that come from their loves. No community and no angel within a community is located by any gift of discernment apart from his or her love. So you're not going to have a heavenly community of geniuses. This is just all the smart people are together, and what brings them together is they're all smart in their various ways. It's what you love. And it's not even really going to be, there is this grouping of, there's sort of the principle of like attracts like in spiritual world, according to Swedenborg, that people are drawn to people who are similar to them. But it's people who are similar in what they love. So it's not even necessarily, oh, we both like model trains, because you can like them for different reasons. Great example. But I hope I'm communicating something there. We can tell from this that the quality of the love determines the quality of the wisdom, and that these determine the quality of the person. Because this the quality of the love will accept or reject eventually things that are in the mind to suit itself. And the quality of the person is because that really sets out not just how we think, but what we look like. Everything about us spiritually is the form of that love, which we're about to read in this paragraph. It is generally recognized that our quality is determined by the quality of our primary love, but this is applied only to our minds and spirits, not to our bodies. Of course, what you love doesn't change how you look, which means it's not applied to the whole person. However, an abundance of experience in the spiritual world has taught me that from head to toe, from the primary elements in our heads to the very limits of our bodies, our nature is determined by our primary love. So there, what you love actually makes what your hands are like, and your face is like, and your whole self, the visible part of you, this spirit, is all derived from this. All the people in the world that are forms of their, all the people in that world are forms of their love. Angels, forms of heavenly love, and demons, forms of hellish love. So why would people who are going into an angelic state be lovely and radiant and everything you think of as an angel? And why are people who are gravitating towards a hellish state be scary and terrifying and misshapen and everything you think of as like a creature from a horror movie? It's because when you see in the light of heaven, so in the spiritual world, when you're seeing the truth, what we love is the form, is the thing that forms us. We are the form of our love. An angel, what is an angel? An angel is a person that is driven by love for you, love for the person in front of, love for the common good, for the welfare of the human race, for all different species and kinds of thoughtfulness and desire to provide aid and a desire to manage situations so that everyone is cared for, everything that's noble and good and honest. What does that look like? What does that desire to notice, oh, these people need help, and I'm going to help them, and I'm going to figure out how to do it selflessly. The thing that we would here call heroic, what does that look like? What does that look like? That is what an angel is. It's just an outward manifestation of that. And then the desire to say, well, this person is suffering, but I don't care because I'm getting this thing out of it. What does that look like? This is why, and I say this all the time, but every time there's somebody who's done something horrific, and you see the mug shot of them or a photo from trial, and you're like, they just look like a normal person. We know that there's a dissonance there because it doesn't make any sense that something so inhuman would have a human face. Spiritually, it doesn't. The face of it is this match to not what you know, but what you love, what you're trying to get. These latter have misshapen faces and bodies, while the former have lovely faces and bodies. Further, when their love is attacked, their faces change. And if it is attacked severely, they disappear completely. This is a distinctive feature of the spiritual world. It happens because their bodies are completely at one with their minds. And it may seem like this is a galaxy far, far away, but we have spirits right now. And our spirits have a form right now. And we can tell that sometimes, am I disappearing out of this conversation because I don't like what people are saying in it? And even moment to moment, what is this feeling that I'm in right now look like? That to me is a really cool. So we're trying to be here, sift through all this stuff. What's good, what's bad? Just pause for a second and say, what if I had to visualize this state of mind? What is it? Is it beautiful? Or is it, perhaps like I'm in my is it Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or Mr. Jekyll? Doesn't matter, does it? Which one am I in right now? And that can help separate, because love is the form of the person, and it's not just about aesthetics. It's not just about how do I look. The form, you think about the form of the human body, everything being in its right form is what allows us to feel good and to feel healthy and to feel comfortable. So it is with the mind and the spirit and everything that follows. The more we are in this form of love, the more love makes us who we are, the better everything is. The more divine order can come in and make us everything we want. Peaceful, happy. What else do you want? It's there, right? So that is why we would want to know how to get into that form. And that's why it's important to know that it's your love, not your intelligence, making you who you are. And that just means whatever we go out and learn that's good, keep an eye to say, how am I using this thing? I go and know this. Am I knowing this just to win arguments, or am I knowing this to apply and try to do something good? And the more that we take the ideas that we learn and make them, do work, improve who we are and what we love, the better and better things get. Man, okay, so you did it. You clicked on this particular show, which is like deep into the sort of philosophical mechanics of who we are. But hopefully you come out of it with something you can use and something that does good for you. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what's it doing for you. Like and subscribe if you don't mind. We'll see you really soon. Thanks for being willing to walk through this journey. And I think you have a great love inside you, and it's getting better every day. Okay, see you.